The book Paper Towns by John Green is kind of written as one of those high school romances, trying to get the girl but with a plot twist. And it's a mystery, and it takes place in Orlando, Florida, and the story centers around this boy named Quentin who goes by Q, and he has this personality of one of those lame nerdy guys who don't really go to parties and live their life centered around school and not really risky at all. Another one of the main characters is Margot, and she's this athletic, popular, daring girl that everyone wants to be, totally like the opposite personality. So ever since Margot had moved into the house right next door from Q, he had this idea of being obsessed with her. And as the kids grew up, they were the best of friends, and they went on all these adventures together. One time they even were riding bikes and they came across this dead body, and it was just laying there, and the man had committed suicide, and Margot, being the girl she was, wanted to know everything, and she figured out everything about him, and she came to the understanding that maybe just all of the strings inside him broke. But Q, on the other hand, wanted nothing to do with this situation, and as his personalities took two different routes, so did their friendships, and as the years went on, they started to act like strangers. So even though they had moved on from their friendships, as the years passed by, Q had this undying love for her, and as senior year is now coming to a close, he finally realizes it's probably time to let her go and just move on. But unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, Margot comes knocking on his window like old times, and Q gets up and starts questioning because it's like 12 a.m. on a school night in the morning, and she tells him that there are at least 11 things she has to do tonight, and at least 5 of them involve needing a runaway driver. And she finally convinces him to come on her kind of like revenge adventure. So in the adventure, they do this like insane stuff. Like they threw dead fish in people's cars and snuck into their houses to put dead fish in closets, and they spray paint M's on people's houses and cars. They saran wrap a car shut. They go to SeaWorld. All these crazy adventures that just involve breaking or entering. But Margot really makes that clear to Q that it's not both, because Q's worried about getting caught and stuff. And so they go up this huge building that lets you look over the entire town, and they have this really romantic dance, and Q just falls deeper and deeper in love with Margot. And as they overlook the town, she brings up this idea of it being a paper town, which is brought up repeatedly throughout the story. And Margot explains in the story, and she says it's a paper town with paper people, paper houses, and everything's just uglier up close. So after their revenge adventure, they both go home and go to bed, and Q just feels like this is a dream, and he can't stop thinking about what just happened. And so he goes to school the next day all excited to see Margot, but she isn't there. And a few days have passed and she's still not at school, and he comes to like the conclusion that she's missing, and this is revisited when he goes home that day, and there's a detective, Margot's parents and his parents, all sitting in his kitchen, and the detective asks Q like if he has any idea where she could be. Her parents don't really seem that worried, because she's done this so many times before and she's 18, but Q's really worried about her because he's in love with her. And then so he and his two best friends and Margot's best friend all go looking for her with the clues that she had left for them, all hidden around the house and on all these places. And so they all go looking for her, and as Q and his best friends are doing this, like they're experiencing all these things for the first time that everyone else in high school is experiencing for the last time. So as they finally put all the clues together, they are sent across the town and dropped off in this paper town, which is the town that can't be found on maps, and they wait and they wait, and all of Q's friends get tired of waiting on someone they don't even think will really show up. So they leave Q in this paper town mourning for Margot. So he finally loses hope and goes to this train station, and he runs into Margot, and they're both extremely surprised to see each other. She tells him that the clues weren't actually left for him, but they were left for her parents that she was going to show like she was gonna be okay, and Q's just devastated. But by the end of the story, as expected, they kissed, and Q's finally had what he's drowned over all high school, and it's finally happened. So in the end, this was just a thrilling story with many ups and downs. I loved all the life lessons that came up in the story, and I thought they were really appropriate because of the whole theme. And I really liked the adventurous scene throughout the book, with the beginning revenge adventure and then the end road trip. And I really liked all the dialogue in the story. I thought it was really funny and a great way to lighten the mood when they were all looking for Margot. And one of the only things I really didn't like about this book was in the middle. It was very just repetitive, and it got to a point where it was just a little boring to read. But other than that, I really recommend this book to anybody.